Welcome back. We'll begin this segment in South Africa, where the country has suffered its driest year on record in 2015. And that's according to the National Weather Service, as a drought that has threatened the vital maize crop and hit economic growth showed no sign of abating. Average rainfall was 403 mm, up about a third less than the 608 mm annual average, and the driest since records began in 1904. The agricultural sector is being hammered by weeks of heat waves that have scorched grazing land, forcing livestock owners to kill or sell them.
South Africa, Africa's most advanced economy, usually a maize exporter, may need to import as much as 5 million tons this year, roughly half its requirements. The hardest hit areas are the Northern Free State province in the western part of the maize belt, a key growing area where many farmers had not planted there yet, missing the last real opportunity.
We're trying to produce the crop and make it so that there's enough food for the country, and in this case we can't do it because it's a massive drought.
We are 2 months late. We should have planted in the middle of November, started planting. We are taking a chance on 2 fields here to see what happens.
Analysts say the cost of maize imports to make up for a lack of crops will be a big burden.
We've got to import about in the vicinity of about 4 million tons of maize if it doesn't rain and the rain just stays away. That means we will have to import about 12 billion rands worth of maize.
Janowski added that prices will not rise immediately as carryover stock were being used, and that the biggest agitator for rising prices will be the weakening rand. The rand has weakened as much as 18% against the dollar since mid-December, after President Jacob Zuma's firing of the finance minister triggered selling by investors worried about future government policy. Maize is a staple food in southern Africa and a key source of high-calorie intake for lower-income households. Consumers will have to tighten their belts and spend more wisely to counter the effects of the weakening rand and unfavorable weather conditions.
The poor are the people who get affected the most, because I think the rich people, even if the food prices go up, they can still afford to buy the food. So I think, things like maize meal, sugar, bread, things like that have to stay low. Even inflation is high. Those things have to stay low because otherwise people are just going to starve.
I'll have to spend more from my salary, and it's going to affect my budget in a long run, and I won't be able to do other things that I have planned and budgeted for because of this drought and the import of food into the country.
Climatologists have said that the current drought conditions could be more severe than usual because of the current worldwide El Niño weather pattern.
And here, Nigeria, as the Central Bank of Nigeria seeks ways out of the country's economic crisis, mixed reactions have continued to trail its recent new Forex policy. Nigeria is facing its worst economic crisis in years, blamed on the downturn in oil, which has lost around 2/3 of its value since mid-2014. In an effort to improve things, the central bank has reversed a policy to allow banks to accept dollar deposits and stop dollar sales to non-bank Forex operators.
The governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, said the sale of foreign exchange to bureau de change would be discontinued because they were using up the country's foreign reserves for illegal transactions and selling the dollar at 250 naira compared to the official central bank rate of 197 naira. The currency hit a record low of 282 naira per dollar on the unofficial market on Monday after the central bank's announcement. Abdullahi Abdul Karim, a Forex dealer in Lagos, was serving customers at his bureau when the new regulations were announced.
I think the new development is a very nice idea to me. Why I say it's a nice idea is because if you look at the Nigerian situation right now, I think the new government are trying to amend a lot of things. So with that amendment, some people will surely go down and other people will surely come up.
The move comes days after a visit by the head of the International Monetary Fund, Christine Lagarde, when she told lawmakers that the IMF did not support foreign exchange restrictions. Dele Shibowale is an economist based in Lagos. He says it will be difficult to establish confidence in the official rate.
The CBN foreign policy or policies are confusing everybody now. And they don't even allow one policy to be properly assimilated before they reverse it, or they change it, or they amend it. And the private sector, the people in the private sector who are affected by these changes are still trying to adjust to one series of changes, policy changes, and they are not fully adjusted, and you are now reversing.
Monthly foreign earnings are set to have plummeted to as low as $1 billion from the highs of $3.2 billion, while demand for foreign exchange has risen sharply over the past decade.
We have already seen some of the immediate impact. The exchange rate has gone up because without money in the bureau de change, there is no check against what is happening on the street, the parallel market. Now the parallel market now becomes the only source of foreign exchange for people who want to transact businesses. The bureau de change at least give is smaller margin from what you get from the bank, but now on the streets, the dollar the naira is just getting back anyhow, and there's no more control.
Nigeria, an OPEC member state that depends on oil sales for about 95% of its foreign reserves, has been hammered by a collapse in global oil prices, which has triggered a slide in its naira currency. The central bank says the last time the currency had oil prices at about $50 per barrel for an extended period of time was in 2005. The average import bill for the first 9 months of 2015 is 917.6 billion naira. The country is now trying to diversify away from oil to sectors like agriculture to boost earnings.
Nigeria has been depending too much on crude oil. Now crude oil revenue is dropping. You have to look for money from somewhere. VAT is a user tax. If you don't use, you don't pay. If you use, you pay. Now, if you have to go to VAT, you can adjust VAT such that some luxury goods are taxed higher than common goods. In other words, sugar you buy in the supermarket is charged differently from maybe car or perfume. You know, you could make those adjustments to VAT, whereby certain items are taxed at 30%, 20%, others are left at 5%, in order to boost the revenue.
To avoid devaluing the currency, a stance so far supported by President Buhari, the central bank adopted increasingly stringent foreign exchange rules last year and effectively banned dollar access for the purchase of 41 items, which has also been criticized at the World Trade Organization by the United States and the European Union.
Well, still talking about this foreign exchange issue, the Association of the Bureau de Change is currently holding a meeting right now to actually outline their own views, and we hope to bring you details of that in our news bulletin. Away from Nigeria, in Azerbaijan, residents gathered in large queues on Thursday to buy foreign exchange after central bank banned the sales of foreign exchange in standalone bureau de change run by commercial banks. The initiative, outlined by a bank spokesman, was taken with a recent plunge in oil prices, exerting huge pressure on the public finances and currencies of oil-dependent countries in the former Soviet Union, raising the risk of social unrest.
The central bank had already said this month that anyone wanting to buy over $500 must present the identity card. Around 250 people queue in this bank trying to exchange their currency. Residents of Baku who flocked to the bank doors expressed their dissatisfaction with the move of the authorities.
It is very hard time now, I tell you. I do not understand how the authorities regulate it. $500 can be purchased per day, and a passport is required. They take copies of it. You cannot exchange more on the same day. One has to call some relative. If I need $3,000, I need to call my relatives to do this. I have spent the whole day here. I have spent 3 weeks here already. One can go crazy. They have removed all the exchange offices, and none of the other banks give anything. They only buy foreign currency. They do not sell it. I do not understand what is happening.
Many currency exchange booths in the capital had stopped operations before the central bank publicized its ban. One booth owner, who declined to be named, said he had closed 3 days ago, referring to a central bank letter ordering the closure of all bureaux de change. Exchange booths locked their doors and took the rate off their boards as the authorized banks handed out tickets to organize the crowd outside in orderly line.
I came here to buy dollars and euro because I have a trip to Europe, but there's a big problem. They don't sell, we cannot buy, and there's a big queue as you see here. And they gave us numbers. It takes sometimes 1 hour or 2 hours to get the money. And I hope they will solve this problem.
Oil and gas account for 75% of Azeri State's revenues. The central bank has been tightening restrictions on sales of foreign currency since cutting the man at loose last month, after Russia and Kazakhstan took similar steps to try to preserve their reserves. The price of benchmark crude oil has fallen almost 75% since June 2014 to below $30 a barrel. Such a steep fall inevitably raises pressure on Azerbaijan's political system.
When we return after the break, Brazilians cut back their spending ahead of their carnival. Do stay with us.